Welcome to Benham's Grove. I'm Anita Benham's Grove Administrator, and today is the 30th of April, and this is our container planting day.
I'm Mary Higgins. I'm a civic volunteer. I'm here to help Anita plant our containers.
And we thought this would be a great opportunity for the public to see what goes on this day here at Benham's Grove. We've selected plants that will work well here on the facility, and one of the parameters that we've used to select the plants, we've picked plants that Mary's had success with in her garden every year and that I have had success with in my personal container gardens at home.
Today we're going to do a sample. We've already potted the rest of the planters. About how many, Anita?
Oh, we do about 30-some, between 30 and 60 containers every year here on the property.
So we've saved one to use right now. We're going to show everybody how we pot this container. We're going to tell you everything about it, what we use. We have a lot of questions about the plants and the type of soils and fertilizers, so we're going to just start from the basics here and give you a little expo here. Okay, we have a very large terracotta pot here. Most of them are very large because this is a large facility, but because it is so deep, a lot of the planting material we use doesn't have a very deep root system, so we don't want to use a lot of extra potting soil because it's very expensive and we want to keep down on the expense. So we just take the plastic containers that the annuals come in and we turn these upside down and we kind of fill up the bottom of the terracotta pots with a lot of this material. And so really we're only just filling up 2/3 of the container with the potting soil. Now the potting soil we use here is a soilless potting mix. This is made up of all organic materials. It's very light. It has perlite, vermiculite, sphagnum peat moss. It's super light, so even on a windy day you got to watch it'll blow away. But it's very lightweight, so it makes the containers easier to deal with. We don't have enough. We need more. We need to get more. The container we're going to show you today is a sunny container. We're going to use all sun plants. We have mostly sun, I think. Some shade plantings around here, but mostly sun. A lot of times with mixed containers, you want to make sure that all the plants are for sun, that you don't have some for just shade that are combined because they won't do as well. You want to have the same climate for all the plants. Nina's getting her strength in here and getting some more potting soil.
Mary wears gloves when she plants.
Well, I usually wear, no. I don't like to use gloves with the containers because you need to get your hands down there and really get everything mixed up. As I said, these take a lot of potting soil. Okay, once we get towards the top, you don't want to bring the potting soil all the way to the top because when you go to water, this really will kind of wash out and you'll lose some of your potting soil. So you want to watch that and not get it
more in there.
Just a little more. Okay. And then we're going to use for fertilizer. A lot of people think, well, this is the secret to all the great plantings here. This is Osmocote. It's a slow-release fertilizer. You sprinkle this in. I'm sure they tell you how much per tablespoon, but I'm kind of like a scratch cook here, so I kind of just sprinkle it around in the soil. This goes where the roots go, down at the base, and this will fertilize for the entire season. And this is great because it cuts down on a lot of work for fertilizing. But we also supplement a liquid feeding once a week. A lot of times this would be just enough, but we like to really push our containers to the limit here and make them really beautiful. So we do use a liquid feeding every week with Miracle Grow, I think.
Miracle Grow. Yes.
And that's a 15-30-15 balance.
Yeah, Miracle Grow gives you more of a quick fertilization.
Right.
And this Osmocote is a slow release. And I prefer Osmocote by brand. There's a lot of generic
Yes, there's
ones,
a lot of new ones. A lot of new ones coming out on the market, but Osmocote has always been my favorite. Now we're going to start with a Dracaena spike. This is for our heights. You always want to start in the center plant that's going to be the tallest, and this is our spike here. And we kind of just nestle these plants in and kind of just make the roots kind of real solid so they don't fall over. And this is another secret. A lot of times Anita and I go out to pull plants and we don't always find what we're looking for. Buying geraniums is one thing you always want to get with a big root system, and we'll just buy a hanging basket like this one right here and we'll just pull the plant apart. There's probably maybe 4 or 5 plants in this basket, but they have huge root systems, which is really good for a geranium because they get a really good start. So we do this with a lot of our plants. We just it kind of looks like we're mangling it here,
But we're not.
We're not.
One of the things we have found with the hanging baskets, since many growers have these available for Mother's Day, they do have the established root system, and we find that many plants, once you transplant them, go through a little bit of shock.
Yes.
And because of the established root system, we find that we don't have as much of a root shock problem here at Benham's Grove. So we'll be ready to go with this for an event this weekend. And
yes, and this already has a lot of blooms on it, and it's really full. And a lot of your geraniums are very small, and we have such large pots, we kind of want that look right away. Now these are all sunny annuals here, and a lot of them are vining. I'd say most of them here are vining, which we do a lot with the large pots. This is a particular favorite of mine. This is Homestead Purple Verbena. This is a dark purple, sun-loving annual that really trails. It's not only good in pots, but it's also good for a ground cover if you want to use it in your garden as a ground cover. This is strictly a pastel type container. All of the containers are pastels here, right?
Yes, we tend to stick with the pastels because we have found that most of the brides here prefer the pastels for their weddings.
Yes.
And another thing, we plant our pots last day of April, but we do not pull our pots till the first day of November. So we're looking for plants that are really going to be hardy throughout spring, summer, and fall. So what we have found, why some of these have very early spring growth, there will also be plant material in these containers that will take over when the spring blooms are done in some of our plants. One of them would be the petunias, tend to be early spring bloomers, that we will have other things that will just take over and bloom profusely throughout the fall, and like the scaevola.
Right, and we choose things here for low maintenance, things that don't need a lot of deadheading. You know, it's very time consuming with a large property like this to deadhead and watering and for bugs or disease. So these are all tried and true plants that I've used in my garden. Anita's used them for years and years, and they've really proven themselves. This is a sweet potato vine. This variety is called Marguerite, and this is one of my favorite. It's a very fast-growing vine. It's a beautiful chartreuse color that goes beautifully with pastels, and we're going to put that in on the side and let that trail over. This is another sweet potato vine. This is called Blackie, and this is probably one of the most fastest growing. I mean, this one grew out of its pot down the whole entire deck and into the ground at my house. So give it lots of room. It likes a big pot, lots of root room. Okay. Okay, and this variety, this is Scabiola, or Scaevola, I think is the real way to pronounce it. This is also a purple plant, and it trails over. We have large pots of around this patio here of just Scaevola, but it also will trail over. Never needs deadheading. This is a wonderful plant. It gives you lots of color throughout the entire summer, and it also holds up all the way into October. That's also what's really nice about it.
And this is probably the most requested plant here at Benham's Grove as far as information. Another name for this plant is the Hawaiian fan plant. But people will just call almost daily and say, what is that little blue fan flower?
Okay. So, another pretty plant here is, this is ibosa. This is a trailing variety of ibosa. This has a beautiful variegated effect, and I always like to try to incorporate white into any container with lots of colors. The white seems to bring out the colors so well. But there's also an upright variety of this, but this is strictly a trailing, so we're going to put that down in the front. What else do we have? We have coleus. Did we have begonias up here? I don't think we did. Yeah, they're over there.
Yeah,
we have begonias. We have plants everywhere here. We're just trying to finish up today and collect everything that's spread around here.
I'm going to move this in.
Let's see here. We're going to do some pink begonias. These are like a mainstay in my garden, and also here. They're like sunshade, never need deadheading. They're a very resilient annual. And we're going to do some. These are going to grow upright, so this is going to give us some height. And when I do begonias, I like to plant them just side by side. They really like to be grouped together. A lot of people say I put so many annuals in my containers, but they really do like to be crowded. It's a little hard to see what this will look like, and it'll be entirely different in another month or so. Ought to come back and see what they look like towards the later part of the summer.
In the front.
Okay, this is licorice plant. This is also a grayish white kind of a fuzzy leaf plant. It's also a trailing plant, and that will also give us some like silver color. We're going to put this over on this side.
And while we will look for similar growth habit, when we say similar growth habit, it means their roots like to be wet or dry. And this is a container that's going to want dry roots. But we do look for texture and color as well. So we're looking for pastel blooms. However, we look for different textures, and Mary mentioned this was a fuzzy leaf. It's also a silver green. So we have a silver green, we have a black, we have a chartreuse. So we're getting contrast in here,
right,
as well as all the great principles of design. We have,
yes, we have
shape,
it all.
color.
Another thing, a lot of times you take the annuals out of the pots. Now these are falling apart. Their roots haven't really filled up. These are little larger pots, and a lot of the annuals come. But you know, if these roots were to be really circling at the bottom, you might want to pull them apart, keep them apart before you place them. We're going to put this one right here, and I think for vining we have enough. The coleus, we might want to do these coleus.
Yeah, that'll give us some height.
Yeah, we're going to do a few coleus. Coleus is really an annual that hasn't been given a lot of attention until the last few years. They have a wonderful varieties now that you can plant them in the sun or shade as long as you water them in the sun. And they give us height and a lot of color. Like I said, not all plants now are for their blooms. There's a lot of them just for their color and texture. And
the coleus is one that will be absolutely gorgeous in the fall.
yeah,
so when our petunias are through blooming, we'll have a lot of color from the coleus.
Okay, I think that's quite enough. I think we're finished. Now, if you'll notice, I don't think we really need a whole lot of soil. I usually fill it up pretty high with soil and just kind of, you know, pack these in. And really, we're really quite at the right level for soil here. So all we need to do is just sprinkle. And when you water this with the soilless potting mix, you want to make sure that you don't just drench it with a hard flow of water. A lot of your soil will come out over the sides. So just a light sprinkling of water will do well.
And now that we've shown you how we plant our sun containers here at Benham's Grove, we'd like to take a moment and show you some of our diffuse light containers and a total shade container that we've already planted. So this is one of our filtered light containers, and Mary will tell you some of the plant material in this.
Okay, around the sides here, this is the Marguerite sweet potato vine. We've actually taken a hanging basket and split it into 3 different vines. This is much fuller. We have an instant display instead of waiting a long time for a very small plant. And we also, in the middle of the container, this is a dragon wing begonia. This can take more shade and at least a filtered sun, not a hot late afternoon sun. And this will get very large. It's to really spread out and give you a large display of color. A lot of pink bloom. It doesn't have a lot of color yet, but it'll be full of blooms.
And over here we have a full shade container.
Okay. Now this is strictly shade. We always have a problem over here because it's very shady, and a lot of the plants that we've used haven't always held up, and so we've tried different things, and we've combined some perennial flowers. This is the ostrich fern. This was just pulled out of the garden down near the cottage and placed in the center for height, and this is a variety of hosta here at Benham's. I'm not sure what variety. Do you know, Anita?
Offhand, I believe this is a Francie hosta.
Okay, and we put this in. This is like another a second height of color, a variegated color. And then we have a pink double begonia or non-stop begonia, and these will give us a lot of color, a lot of pink color. This is a new variety of a fancy leaf begonia. This is called escargot. Fancy leaf begonias are just known for their texture and leaf color. They really don't have any blooms of any consequence. So this is a very unusual plant. Anita found this. And over here we have some creeping jenny. This is strictly a shade plant. It has a very beautiful chartreuse color. We'll just vine down over the front of the container. And we have a few more begonias over here.
So that about wraps it up for April 30th Container Planting Day here at Benham's Grove. And I'd like to invite everyone to stop by throughout the summer months and see how our containers have turned into full bloom here at Benham's Grove.